Hi everyone, this is Jeremy Moskowitz, Group Policy MVP, and in this video I'm going to show you, if you're an Avecto Privilege Guard customer, why you still need PolicyPak to really get true desktop security. Let's get started right away. As you can see here, I'm logged on as a regular user. His name is EastSalesUser2, and the Privilege Guard stuff isn't even enabled yet. I just want to show you what a regular user can do. If a regular user goes to Acrobat Reader and goes to Edit Preferences here, and they click on, say, JavaScript, now there's a security hole that if a user selects Enable Adobe Acrobat JavaScript here, well, what can happen is that the bad guys can potentially use this as an attack vector against your machine, and there's nothing preventing a standard user from just clicking that on or going to Security Enhanced and unchecking Enable Enhanced Security. Again, a regular user can just do that, click OK, life goes on as perfectly normal. Now, one of the things that is also kind of interesting is that, a lot of organizations want to keep the updates, the automatic updates turned off, and PolicyPak can do that. We can dictate those settings, but when it comes to a product like Avecto Privilege Guard, what you may want to do is, for most people, leave it on the setting of do not download and install updates automatically, but use PolicyPak to dictate the setting of install updates automatically install updates. The problem is that even if a user is granted this checkbox, this radio button rather, and they click OK, well, they encounter this UAC prompt that they don't have access to actually perform that function. Now that is what Avecto Privilege Guard is going to do for us. So again, I'm going to show you a 1-2 combination. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how PolicyPak can deliver the correct settings in. And then the second thing I'm going to do is show you how the Avecto Privilege Guard can deliver the right UAC credentials or the right privilege effect so that the UAC credentials are not going to be there. So to get started with this, I'm going to go to my group policy management station, and against my eSales users, I'm going to create a GPO, and I'm going to call this Manage Acrobat using PolicyPak and PrivGuard. Okay. Now, in fact, if you'll notice, I'm actually I'm kind of gearing up to do two things in this one group policy object, and that actually makes a lot of sense for this Better Together story. The first thing we're going to do under PolicyPak applications is we're going to use one of our pre-configured PolicyPaks, new application for Acrobat Reader, and you can see we've got a whole lot of them here. In fact, we've got over 15, but these are the ones I've got set up for this demo. So we'll use Acrobat Reader X here, and we'll dictate in those security settings. So for JavaScript, if the checkbox is checked, we want to uncheck it. And actually, that's not enough because a regular user can just skirt around that. We don't want them to do that. So we're going to go the extra mile, and PolicyPak can right-click and disable the corresponding control in the target application. So we're going to literally gray out this setting so a user can't work around it. So we're going to go ahead and select that. And let's go to that Security Enhanced. We want to make sure that checkbox is always checked. And while we're here, we'll go ahead and right-click and also disable the corresponding control in the target application. We're going to guarantee that that checkbox is going to be checked. Let's go over to Updater. Now, you can set, using PolicyPak, the default setting you want here. Let's say, for instance, we want the default setting to be do not download or install updates automatically, and we'll go ahead and just leave it as it is. So we'll set the setting to do not download or install updates automatically. Let's just see the PolicyPak part work. We'll go ahead and click OK, and we'll go over to our client machine. So we'll go ahead and run GP update here to get the latest, greatest settings. And again, so far we're just doing the PolicyPak part of this. We'll do the Better Together story right after. I just want to make sure the PolicyPak part is doing its thing, and we can understand what PolicyPak is doing here. And we're running GP update here. We could also wait 90 minutes or so, or get a new machine, or log off and log back on, or use a new VDI session, or change job roles, anything where group policy updates, we're going to get that setting. So let's go ahead and run Acrobat here and go to Edit Preferences and take a look. Well, we definitely don't want that. So let's go down first to JavaScript here. See, exactly, PolicyPak's delivered the setting and left and unchecked the checkbox and guaranteed that the user can't turn it back on. And let's go to Security Enhanced. We've delivered the checkbox and guaranteed the user can't check it. We've grayed out the setting, disabled it so the user can't get around it. Now remember, we talked earlier about Updater. If we if we just set the setting to do not download or install updates automatically, PolicyPak did that. But if you want to grant your users the ability to install updates and you click OK, that's the problem. And so this is where we get to begin our Better Together story with Avecto Privilege Guard. So let me go ahead and close this off and go back to that very same group policy object I had earlier. That's over here in my management station. And if I dive down under Policies, Privilege Guard policies, I actually spent a little time and I can import the Privilege Guard policies that I pre-created for this demonstration. And they're right here. In fact, I've got 3 things I want to show you today, but I don't want to do all of them right now. The only one that I want to have enabled is the allow. Whoops, I'll go ahead and delete that. That's fine. The only one I want right now is allow Acrobat to update. So I'm using Privilege Guard to allow Acrobat to update. And because it uses group policy, just like PolicyPak, the very next time we run GP update or get a new system or change job roles or any group policy refresh event, we're going to get that policy setting, and now that problem should go away. So what we're about to see, PolicyPak deliver the settings, and then Privilege Guard can elevate the rights because of privilege management. So we'll wait for that to finish real fast. And there we go. We'll run Acrobat Reader here. So we go to Edit Preferences here. And again, just to show you, PolicyPak is still doing its thing on each of the settings that we set. And now under Updater, here's where it gets cool. PolicyPak's delivered this setting, but now if we click on, say, for this particular user or collection of users, automatically install updates, now is where Avecto Privilege Guard kicks into high gear. And when we click OK, we're not going to see a UAC prompt. That's exactly what we wanted to see. Okay, so that's the first of 3 demos I wanted to show you in my Better Together story. The next one is actually about Flash. So let me go ahead and close this out here. The next thing I want to show you is very interesting as well. Let me go to this web page called testmycam.com. Okay, so here's the deal about testmycam.com. It's actually able to use the Flash player on your machine, and a regular user, again, I'm just logged on as this guy, eSales user 2, some regular guy who's a standard user, can just click allow, and here I am on camera. So you can see me right now through the Flash player on this machine. And I don't know what that space age scary stuff is over there, so let's not get distracted by that. So the point of the story is any regular low-level standard user can just click OK, and now, possible company secrets are going through the camera or the microphone or both. Now, this isn't something that Avecto Privilege Guard fixes. That's not its job. This is where PolicyPak kicks in. So let me go ahead and close this off, and we'll dive back into my management station, and we'll do another Better Together story. We're going to say manage Flash player using PolicyPak and PrivGuard. Okay, so another Better Together story, 2 things that we can do in the same group policy object. We'll go ahead and click Edit here. We'll do the PolicyPak stuff first. We'll dive down under PolicyPak and go to New Application, and we'll pick the Flash player. Now, I've got a whole other video specifically for the Flash player, but the thing we want to talk about for this example is block all sites from using the camera and microphone. Now I'm going to go ahead and select this setting and then also force it so the user can't work around it. I want to right click over and disable the corresponding control in the target application. I'm going to make these radio buttons gray out so the user can't possibly screw it up. In fact, I don't even want them to mess with this button, so I'm going to right click over and disable that too, and that's totally gone. Now let's talk about the updater function. Once again, you may choose to, by default, never check for updates. And even though it says it's not recommended, that's Flash Player saying not recommended, maybe it is recommended. Maybe you have a process that you have already in place to deploy Flash Player on a schedule. But some people you want to be able to perform the check now function. So we'll leave that button there. But this trusted location settings button, we're going to right click over that guy and we're going to literally hide the corresponding control in the target application. The trusted location settings actually allows a user to potentially bypass any of these settings and act as a developer. And we don't want them to do that. So we're going to just get rid of that function altogether. So let's just see the PolicyPak part work first. So we'll go ahead and go back to our machine here, our client machine. We'll run GP update, and then we're going to run Flash. And well, first and foremost, let's see if it clobbered our camera, which is exactly what we told it to do. So let's go ahead and do that first. Okay, that's all done. So let's go ahead and rerun and go back to testmycam.com, and no camera. That's exactly what we wanted. And also, you know, a user, this is still a Flash area, and a user can right-click over and go to Settings here and click Allow. And again, this is just a regular user here, and you can see that a regular user still has all these access rights here. So we want to make sure that the thing that we don't want them to do is being delivered, that setting is being delivered by PolicyPak and locking out. Now this is a little tricky. The Flash Player window here kind of makes it look like it's not blocking cameras. It makes it look like it's asking me when a site wants to use the camera or microphone, but well, clearly it's not. It's actually being locked down. Just the window, because it's grayed out or something, doesn't show that it's being reflected. It is actually doing the thing we told it to do. PolicyPak is enforcing that setting. So next, let's go to Advanced here. And, well, see, we allowed users to go ahead and check now. But we'll come back to that in a second. But under Developer Tools, look, that button is completely gone, completely gone. You know, I meant to get rid of that. Get rid of this dialog box, the check now and never check for updates. Let me go ahead and fix that. I didn't mean to do that. Let me go ahead and fix that. It's super easy to do. I'll go back to Advanced here, right-click, and then disable the corresponding control. It's just that easy. We'll go ahead and disable the corresponding control there, and we'll run GP update again because, gosh, I forgot to do that. So we'll just wait for the 5 seconds it takes to do that. All right, so now that that's done, we'll go back to Test My Cam. Sorry about that. Test My Cam here. Right-click, go to Global Settings, and then, again, I'm just a regular user. Still none of the Privilege Guard stuff is engaged. It's just all PolicyPak right here. If we go back to, here we go, back to Advanced, I've now grayed out that dialog box, and it is definitely not going to check for updates. It's definitely locked down to never checking for updates, even though it's not really showing. It really is. And as I said, for Developer Tools, we've just obliterated that button so a user can't kind of scoot in and pretend that they're a developer. But we did leave this Check Now button available to them, and that's what I want to talk about now with our Better Together story with Privilege Guard. So if I were to allow a user to go to the Download Center here and download Flash Player Update right now, I'm going to go ahead and hit Save here and view the downloads. Go ahead and do all that stuff that we got to do here. All right, so now that it's there, let me go to the downloads location. And, well, if you know what's coming, right? This is a standard user. I'm just some guy, East Sales user 2. So if I try as a standard user to run this application, bam, UAC prompt. So that might be what you want for some users, but you might also want to work around that for other users. And that's where Avecto Privilege Guard can help you. So let me go ahead and leave this here. Let me go back to my management station over here. And in the same group policy object that I'm managing Flash Player, again using PolicyPak and Privilege Guard, I'll dive down under Policies, Privilege Guard Policies, and again, I've got a pre-created one that I created earlier today. Import Privilege Guard Policies here. There we go. And the one that I want is the Allow Flash to Update. So I'll go ahead and delete this guy and delete this guy. So Allow Flash to Update is the policy that I want now. So we've got our PolicyPak policies delivering Flash Player stuff here. We have our Privilege Guard policies delivering the UAC elevated rights privileges there. And so now let's go ahead and just run GP Update on this machine. And if all goes well, instead of a UAC prompt, Privilege Guard is going to enable an updated rights for the user, and that user should be able to install Flash Player super easily. So we'll go ahead and watch that right now. So now that that's done, Just go ahead and click on Install Flash Player, and before we had a UAC prompt in our face, and now boom, it's bypassed. Exactly what we expected. I'm going to go ahead and quit that here. We don't need that. So we'll go ahead and say yes, we're done with that. But that's the general idea. PolicyPak has delivered the correct settings that are important for you and your environment. Users can't work around them, but if you need to have elevated privileges, that's exactly what Avecto Privilege Guard is all about. So let me go ahead and close all this stuff out here. I guess I'm done there. And let's go on to my third Better Together story. Let me show you this, which is regional options. And I'm using region and language options as an application you might have. It could be a bigger, badder application. I just happen to be using region and language here. Gosh, there's a lot of things for users to mess up here, and that's the perfect opportunity for PolicyPak to deliver settings because it's important for the user to get what you want them to get. For instance, I know this is a little out of the ordinary, but first day of the week, this says Sunday. Maybe we want to make it Tuesday. We want to make it Tuesday for all of our East sales users for some reason. And gosh, additional settings. There's a lot of stuff for them to do here and to mess up and to screw up. Maybe we don't want them to have access to that at all. So wouldn't it be neat to be able to literally remove the UI so they can't screw that up? But let's take a look under Keyboard and Languages and Administrative tabs here. Notice how there are UAC prompt style buttons here. What happens if you click on one of these UAC style buttons? Well, you're going to get a UAC prompt because, again, I'm logged in as just a good old regular user. So let's see if we can get our Better Together story again going with PolicyPak and Avecto Privilege Guard. So what we're going to do, we'll go back to our group policy management console here. We'll create yet another group policy object called Manage Regional Settings with PolicyPak and PrivGuard. So we'll right click over, click edit. We'll dive down under the user side and under PolicyPak applications. Let's just do all the PolicyPak stuff first. We'll go ahead and select for PolicyPak for region and language options here. And again, this is not a pre-created one. I might make it available soon, but this one took me a whole 5 minutes to create in our PolicyPak Design Studio. And if I want to set the first day of the week to Tuesday, but then also right-click and disable the corresponding control again, what I'm saying is that I'm not only setting the setting to Tuesday, but again, the user can't work around this setting. There's no way for them to click on this or to work around the setting. And this additional settings button, remember we saw all those settings that were available underneath the hood. Let's make it so that the user just doesn't even have access to that. We'll just hide the corresponding control in the target application. Really remove the UI. Let's go back to keyboards and languages. Maybe I don't have it here, but this was a UAC prompt, and that was a UAC prompt, and this was a UAC prompt. Maybe you want them to be able to get into some of the UAC prompts, but not others. Like for instance, this copy settings. Maybe that's a little too weird for them to get to. So you can right-click over that and again disable the corresponding control in the target application. This isn't something that Avecto Privilege Guard can do. Only PolicyPak can do that. So we'll go ahead and in the same GPO, we'll dive down under Policies, Privilege Guard Policies, and I'm going to import Privilege Guard Policies. And I've already got one pre-created just for this occasion, and I'll go ahead and delete that one we don't need, and I'll delete this other one we don't need here. And I've got Allow Regional Options UAC Bypass for Privilege Guard. So a 1-2 combination. On the one hand, PolicyPak is going to deliver those settings like Tuesday and lock it down and remove the UI elements that users shouldn't have access to. And on the same GPO, we're going to have Privilege Guard enable users to bypass the UAC prompt for region and language options. So let's check this out. With one GP update, we'll do both at the same time. Just wait for this to finish. But again, we know that as soon as we log on for the first time or the next time, or we get a new laptop, or we get a new VDI session, or we're logging on to a terminal server, any of those things, any event that causes group policy to update, that is when each both PolicyPak policies and Privilege Guard policies kick into high gear. So we'll go ahead and now run regional options here, region and language options. Hey, look at exactly what we expected. PolicyPak has delivered the first day of the week as Tuesday, just as we expected here. Let's go over to administrative. Cool. We've grayed out that weird copy settings screen button. So even though the user is elevated using Avecto Privilege Guard, there's still no way for them to select this item. So let's think about that. The user is now running as an admin here because if they click on this guy, for instance, they no longer get the UAC prompt. So we know they're running as an admin. But what PolicyPak does is that it actually delivers the setting underneath the hood, as we saw here, first day of week Tuesday, but also grays out or literally removes the UI from portions of the application. In fact, the application has a button here that's called additional settings that's just completely absent because we removed it. PolicyPak removed it. So that is another awesome Better Together story. So let's make sure we got it straight. PolicyPak delivers settings, locks down the UI. Avecto Privilege Guard enables you to enhance the user experience by allowing them, under certain circumstances, to bypass the UAC prompts and get elevated rights even when they're running as a standard user, as we are here. If you're ready to try your own Better Together story using PolicyPak, well, we're here for you. Just click on the big old download button on the right or select to join us at our next webinar and learn more about PolicyPak, and that's how you get the PolicyPak downloadable. So thank you very much for watching, and remember, with PolicyPak, what you set is what you get. Thanks so much.